Now, in regard to neutrality, etc., neutrality is thrown up against us all the time that we criticise militarisation. And what they say is, oh, we're neutral, we don't have to send our troops, we can't be conscripted, etc. And so what they're saying is, well, we'll withdraw, but we will allow the structures of militarisation and armaments to go ahead and to be intensified. But we'll sit in our garden, we don't really have to go there, but we'll allow this, which I say is evil, to go. That in itself is a shameful position. Of course we have to say that a huge question mark anyway hangs over the question of so-called Irish neutrality. How is a country neutral that facilitates 1 million American soldiers going to invade and occupy a country? That's not neutrality. Neutrality is a badge of convenience for Sweden as well, for example, which says, oh, we are neutral. Yes, but it's one of the biggest arms manufacturers in the European Union, and in fact in the world. What kind of neutrality is that? It is utter hypocrisy, and we have to say so and see through it. Now, finally, on to the services, Chairman and friends. And I had a man there, we had a few PD speakers or PD-type speakers lecturing us. And fair play to them for having the courage to stand up and to talk about the health service. My God, the two of them are gone actually. Maybe they knew it was coming down the line. And one young man suggested that it was positive that the American corporations and the others would be coming into our health service. Incredible. Let's look what is happening in the health service. There is the institutionalization of a two-tier health service. A health service for profit, for these companies, and for private operators. And the policy of this government is, and Dan, you should stand against it, the policy of this government is to promote the private for-profit corporations. And that is being done at huge expense to our public health system. There is a huge propaganda campaign by the government to do down the public health, to do down, for example, the concept of local community hospitals. But look at the contradiction. While they want to do down those, whether it's in Monaghan or Roscommon or wherever, Bertie Hearn and Mary Harney, over the last 3 years, have been going around the country opening smaller for-private hospitals run by American corporations and others. Well, if they believe that small private hospitals is sufficient, then doesn't that immediately undermine the arguments that they're making for closing community hospitals and just having major centres? We want centres of excellence for cancer and elsewhere, but that should go hand in hand with the maintenance of, in local regional areas of those treatment centres as well. And the private sector and the private corporations thrive on the basis of the failure and undermining of the public service. If we had a proper, well-invested, democratically run health service, who would be rushing out to pay private insurance? Or who would be rushing out to bring in American corporations? They would not. They thrive on the failure of the public. But the failure of the public, as far as the PDs and Fianna Fáil are concerned, certainly, is a deliberate policy, because it facilitates their corporate friends coming in and taking over. Now, we've heard a lot about the benefits of the European Union, and we heard as well, you know, when we were attacking the government over supporting American imperialism in Iraq, how good the United States was for us. Well, there's a little price to pay, unfortunately. It's not really trumped up in the newspapers every day, but every year out of these small states goes the massive fortune of between 25 and 30 billion euro in profits by multinational corporations, back to where they belong, whether it's New York, or whether it's Stuttgart, or whether it's London, taken from the labour and the abilities of Irish workers. Who says we're not giving value for money to those people? It cuts two ways, I'm afraid. Let's be very clear about that. So, Achardia, there is no question, but it gives a huge impetus to the privatisation agenda, which is being pushed by the big multinational corporations and echoed by their representatives in government, in right-wing governments throughout Europe. Stopping them in their tracks would be achieved. It would be a huge barrier to them to vote no. And then, as McBarry says finally, that's only the beginning. To organise, to change politics in this country and in Europe. Give power back to working people. Break the domination of this cosy political elite in Dáil Éireann, where they're all virtually, except 4 TDs or 5 TDs supporting this, but half their membership aren't happy with it. Break that cosy consensus. Build a new organisation, a new party of working people, so that working people and young people for a change, our values and the type of world that we want, is what's imposed, not the values of the armaments merchants, the corporation merchants, and the super profit-seeking multinationals who dominate and who are facilitated by the Lisbon Treaty. Vote no.